What's the forecast looking for this summer? Is the Met Office about to get a lot more accurate? But what about geoengineering? Will that throw a spanner in the works?
Hello and welcome to Square Raindrop. I'm Jo Wheeler.
And I'm Steph Galter, and I'm outside.
Yeah, I'm inside, but I do have a t-shirt on. I'm working my way up to it, but very, very slowly. But Steffi, first thing, it's summer. Secondly, it turned out to be the sunniest spring on record, beating 2020 by 4 hours of sunshine.
Yes, I really enjoyed it, I have to say, Jo. I love sunshine and dry weather. Unfortunately, my garden, not so much. And my veggies this year are looking a little bit shriveled, shall we say.
And I've noticed a little something tracking backwards and forwards behind you. You say that's Trevor, but doesn't look like any gardener I've ever seen.
No, Trevor is a robotic gardener. He's brilliant. So he's not one of these really fancy robot lawnmowers that cost thousands of pounds. He's the cheap and cheerful budget version. He's got no app to go with him at all, and you just press on and off he goes. If he bumps into something, be that your precious rose or a pot, then he'll turn around.
Excellent. I love that idea. Now, of course, when we've had a lovely spring as we've had, you always feel like you're about to pay the price for summer. And we've just had the latest Met Office predictions. And what are they saying for the summer months?
Well, they're saying that it will probably most likely be warmer than average. Now, part of the reason is generally the climate is getting warmer anyway, so it's not really a surprise. But also the temperatures of the water around the UK are well above average at the moment. So they're around 4 or 5 degrees higher than average, which is a lot. So that's having an impact on fish life, but it also means that our weather's going to be likely warmer as well because we get some of the influence from the sea. So this summer is looking a little bit warmer, but not necessarily for the sunny reasons.
I'm still not going swimming in the North Sea. That's not going to happen. It's a bit of a chilly body of water, that one, even if it's 4 degrees up on what it has been.
Jo, even around the Isle of Wight, I wouldn't be going in the water. I do have friends that do dip in the sea, but I'm a viewer. I'll wave from the sidelines and buy them an ice cream afterwards, just to make sure they're really cold.
Let's just call them nutters, shall we? I think it's quite a long time since I've actually been in the sea. It is a bit chilly. Now, you mentioned at the top of the programme that the Met Office is likely to become more accurate with its predictions. Why so?
Aha. Well, you and I might remember the Met Office unveiling its new supercomputer. But now they've got a new supercomputer. And this one, it just has more calculation power and more input and more ability to give us an even more accurate forecast.
Okay, well, they say more accurate forecast for longer periods. So maybe you'll stop being so doubting about the long-term forecast, potentially up to 2 weeks in advance. Thought we did that anyway. But anyway, also improve rainfall predictions, help predict extreme weather events more in advance, advance climate research, improve forecasting for activities like air travel and energy planning, and potentially help with better predictions related to flooding and wildfires. Now, that's all well and good. Now, on the last podcast, we were discussing the projected geoengineering. Now, at the moment, the UK is only dabbling in that, investing about 50 million, mostly on something called solar reflection management, which is basically creating cloud to make the sun go back up rather than come down to Earth.
But also, just to point out that not all of it is happening here. So we are investing and doing some experiments, say, in the Arctic, like we talked about last time, and maybe Australia are doing some experiments as well. So we're kind of looking at what is feasibly possible.
Exactly. Now, a lot of the comments that we got, there was a degree of nervous anticipation, let's call it that, because they're saying, well, hang on a second, how do we know what happens if we do this? And first and foremost, looking at this supercomputer, so it's going to be more accurate at predicting the weather. But when you then put an intervention into place, which stops sunlight reaching the Earth, how's that going to affect the forecasting?
Well, it really is at home to Captain Cook-up, isn't it, really, Jo? If you throw something in that you don't really know how it's going to affect things, then we were not going to know how it affects things. It's a bit like Dubai. A lot of people were saying that those big floods we had in Dubai were due to some kind of intervention in the weather, because they do like cloud seeding over in the UAE. They admit to doing it. But that one wasn't, because our weather computers flagged it up as a major impact before it had happened. And our weather computers do not take cloud seeding or anything else into account because they can't. They don't know exactly the mechanism behind what happens. They don't know exactly how big the storms are going to get. So we can't account for it.
So what the UK is suggesting doing and is likely to invest some money in is different from what has already happened in other parts of the world. But I was seeing something quite interesting by a guy called Scott Stevens. Now, he's a meteorologist, 20 years experience and 20 years research into geoengineering, because back in 2005, he was working in Florida. And at that point, they were spraying the skies with barium and aluminium, in other words, metallic particles, which he said were then being heated up by HAARP. Now, that stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. And of course, when you expand air, when you heat it up, it expands. So he was seeing an awful lot of things happening that he didn't expect to happen. For instance, at one point, he forecast a snowstorm, but then found that when he went outside and looked at the models, that in fact the clouds were heating up and that snow never arrived. So he forecast something which then didn't happen because of some kind of geoengineering. Are we not facing the same kind of problem?
Well, that's what he says. It's one man in Florida. I would probably say that it was a case of a bad workman blaming his tools and maybe saying, oh, yeah, it's because of something else. HAARP can't really exist. There isn't enough electricity in the whole of the US to make it happen. It's incredibly energy intensive, what they're claiming to happen. So there's a lot of we're doing this, conspiracy theories, if you were. Are we doing this? Are we not doing this? They are geoengineering, don't get me wrong. They are particle seeding clouds and they're making it rain more in certain parts of the world. And they're open about it. Many countries do it. We also use it not me in my back garden, you understand. But it's also used for hail. If you put particles up, it can kind of make the hail not as condense and instead spread out the energy in a bit, and it stops the hail from destroying crops. So there are some uses for it. It can also be used to disperse fog. So if you're in a war and you need to get out at the airport, I mean, it's expensive. We're not going to do it at Heathrow. But if you're in a war and you've got to get out, you can put these particles over the airfield and cross your fingers that the hole will appear over the airfield and you'll be able to escape. So there are things that can happen. But when it comes to dimming the sun, because you've put too much CO2 in it, that's not fixing the problem. That's kind of patching it up in a really dodgy way over there.
But I mean, the big thing with weather, and you and I both know this, that when we're looking at the forecast for the UK, we are watching what's happened somewhere else. You know, if there are big storms over northern parts of France and the push is northwards, we know that rain's going to arrive in the south. You know, a movement has an effect on something else. Now, suppose that Scott that day was having just a bit of an aberration. It was the 14th of June and he forecast snow. It didn't arrive. No surprise there then. But he went on to say that, you know, because of this modification, as he saw it, it was affecting weather elsewhere. And I think that's why people are really worried about geoengineering, because if you mess with the weather in one place, surely it's going to have an effect somewhere else.
That's why it confuses me so much when Russia said that they tried to put up that mirror to put a bit of extra daylight down in Siberia. Surely that would have an effect on the weather, not only there, but elsewhere. Because, yeah, as you say, it's all interconnected, which is why when the Met Office say that we're going to be more accurate over 14 days, I mean, that's brilliant if it could happen. But the models still don't always agree on things. So if one model becomes more accurate, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to completely trust it, because you've got other models that are telling you different things. And you can only be as good as the day before, really. You can't get the weather accurately right to the hour, to the minute, if the day before has been a little bit wrong. And you're never going to know the exact precise conditions of the beginning, like now. I bet nobody knows how hot it is here compared to how hot it is there. It's just impossible to know. So there's a lot of questions there, and a lot of unanswered ones.
And surely part of, I mean, you know, weather forecasting has moved on so much since 1987, the hurricanes. But obviously, as you say, they all run several model runs each and every day, and then look at which ones start to agree. And at that point, confidence in a forecast starts to rise, because quite a lot of time when you do a forecast, there is high confidence, moderate confidence or low confidence. The blocking high we had, confidence was high. We were just seeing the same thing every day.
Yes. I'm going to have to just say one thing though, Joe. 1987 was not a hurricane. I know, you're going to be like, oh, you're splitting hairs, but no, it was just a really intense low. It was explosive cyclogenesis, like we see all the time at the moment, or we did in the winter. Now, not a sausage.
I was going to say, with a sting jet, that was what happened. It was a sting jet. We discussed that some time back. You'll have to trawl back through our podcast to find out when we spoke about that. But interestingly, America hasn't given up on the geoengineering, has it? Because you spotted something this week.
Yes. Would you like a new job, Arjo? Because the University of Chicago and the Max Planck Institute for Meteorology are looking for a highly motivated postdoc to join a new group on climate systems engineering. So it's looking to quantify and understand uncertainties in regional impacts of solar geoengineering. 2 positions available. So yeah, they're recruiting in order to try and discover how to dim the sun, which to me might not be the best idea in the first place.
No, I think I'll leave my CV as it is, to be perfectly honest. But you brought in that word solar there. I've also seen quite a lot on social media this week worrying about solar flares, which apparently happened a couple of days ago, but was likely to impact us on Sunday. I didn't notice anything.
Well, that's because you can't see in the light. Hang on a minute, we can see in the light. That's the problem. So the solar flares came, they came to Earth. We got warnings. We are on a red alert for aurora. Unfortunately, it was daylight, so we couldn't see a thing. And by the time it got to nighttime, it had all dissipated. Very disappointing, RJ. Very disappointing.
Well, we're still here then, so everything's fine. But the weather this week, not looking too cushy?
No, so this that I'm in at the moment, the nice sunshine, not too windy, all of that good stuff, that's on its way out. Your garden will be happy though, Arjo. There's lots of rain coming, and that will be interspersed with showers, and that will be interspersed with clouds and some strong winds. In between that though, there'll be some sunshine. So I do think it's good growing weather.
Excellent. Once again, my lawn has grown, but exciting news of the week, I've had my lawnmower blades sharpened.
Did Trevor come round?
I haven't got a Trevor.
Oh.
Just somebody to sharpen my lawnmower blades.
Probably cheaper to get a Trevor.
I might just give it a go. In the meantime, if you've got a special event and you'd like a personalised forecast, you know where to find us, Steffi.
We are always here. Whether at squareraindrop.com, or you can find us on all the social medias. Let's start with X. We are at Square Raindrop because Square Raindrop didn't fit.
I knew that line. I knew it.